Hello, friends. It's Mr. Mobile coming at you from my closet. Please stay safe. Remain indoors. So last night I rewatched Minority Report, the future noir thriller from 2002, and what kept catching my eye was the watch John Anderton wore to keep track of the time horizon. This was actually an Omega, rebranded as a Bulgari for some reason, but the point is, I suddenly wanted this watch face on my wrist. As much as I love my Garmin Mark Captain, with this screen, it just wasn't going to happen. So I moved back into my on-again, off-again review sample for the past few months, the Skagen Falster 3. And I expected to say, well, the same thing I always say about Wear OS smartwatches. Great hardware, shame about the software. But thanks to recent Wear OS updates, an app called Facer, and a long-standing issue with some Fossil hardware, this time around, the script is flipped. Now, that's not to say the design suffers. With the Falster 3, Skagen continues its intoxicating blend of Danish minimalism with a splash of excess, the latter from these trademark oversized lugs. Like all Wear OS watches that are worth anything, the Falster 3 sports 2 customizable pushers and an active rotating crown. And this 22mm band is a fun little bait and switch. It looks like woven fabric, right? Well, it's actually a silicone mesh that you can get as wet as you want without damaging it, just like the watch itself. If it weren't for the charging issue that I'll touch on in a second, my only complaints about this hardware would be that the screen doesn't get quite bright enough in direct sunlight, and, the casing feels just a smidge too light. I like a little more heft than this. Normally, here's where I'd pivot to the problems endemic to Google's Wear OS, many of which are still here. The random disconnections, the crown not working in all apps, and Google Assistant's buggy, laggy lack of responsiveness. But the watch has the requisite gig of RAM, so it runs smoothly most of the time. And more importantly, Google seems to have patched the biggest bug, which is notifications not getting delivered reliably. If you watched my Galaxy Z Flip review, you'll remember that this is a phone that basically requires a smartwatch. And I've been getting messages on the Falster 3 just like I should. Wait, what? Okay. Hang on a second, gotta do something here real quick. That's better. Google also shipped a new feature this past week to help in the fight against coronavirus. When it's enabled, this will remind you to wash your hands every 3 hours and give you a timer while you do it so you can hit the ideal 40 seconds. It might sound like a gimmick, but our biggest enemy as we try to beat this thing is creeping complacency, and this helps fight it. Speaking of quarantine, you might be making more phone calls these days, and with the built-in speakerphone, you can make and take calls with both Android and iPhones on the Falster 3. Callers said I sounded fine, if not perfect, and on my end the speaker was clear, but could have been louder. Wear OS doesn't offer much space for manufacturers to express themselves, but the Skagen folks have squeezed some personality into things like the charging animation seen here. The watch faces are similarly minimalistic, which isn't really my bag. So last night, unable to fall asleep, I must have pushed a dozen watch faces to the Falster 3 from the Facer app. You can find pretty much anything in Facer, from my requisite Star Trek L-cars, to that Minority Report monstrosity, to licensed designs from actual watchmakers. There's so much diversity here, you can lose yourself just shopping around, and it's tough to find a watch face that doesn't look great on the Falster 3 hardware. But here's the thing. You can also install Facer on a Samsung watch. While those don't have as distinctive a look, their Tizen software is far more responsive. Also, those watches last longer than the Falster 3. Unless I use one of Fossil's power-saving modes, I only get 1 day, even when in lockdown at home. And you can charge Samsung watches on a wider array of chargers as well, thanks to wireless charging. They're even able to top up on the back of some smartphones. By contrast, Fossil has stuck with the simplicity of this ring and pin system, which is fine until the glue melts. Now, I haven't had this issue happen on my review devices, but unlike a real owner, I only use them for a few weeks at a time. Every year, I see the problem reports resurface on Reddit, on Fossil's own help site. Every year, I ask Fossil about their issues with glue on smartwatches, and every year they tell me they've fixed them in the latest generation. Yeah, they'll swap them out at the retail store for you, no problem, but at some point you've got to say, maybe just go with wireless charging. Kill 2 issues at once. Of course, that would probably drive up the price. The Skagen Falster 3 is $295, which puts it on par with Fossil's 5th generation house brand and slightly below the Moto 360 Revival. If it were me, I'd probably go for the Moto, just because I prefer a more assertive industrial design, and I'm not planning on using the watch with an iPhone. And for most people on Android, I'll continue to recommend the Galaxy Watch Active 2, which can now be had for $250 at Best Buy. Hopefully, as Google continues to refine Wear OS and Fossil iterates on hardware for the next generation, we'll get back to a point where I can make an unqualified recommendation of a Wear OS watch. Today, you should only buy the Falster 3 if you're really in love with this design, which, to be fair, is easy to understand. This video was produced using a Skagen Falster 3 review sample provided by Fossil Group. Mr. Mobile does not produce paid reviews, though. No compensation was provided, and Fossil was not given copy approval or an early look at this video. They're seeing it right alongside you for the first time. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this on YouTube. Until next time, thanks for watching. And in spirit, if not in practice, stay mobile, my friends.